Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for the great turnout. It's a real honor for me to have the opportunity to be back on campus. The place I love. I went to school at the University of Maryland here, and I'm not going to tell you what year, because you'll start laughing about how old I am. But it's a real pleasure to be here and to have the opportunity to speak at the business school. And what I'd hope to do today is tell you a little bit about a story on our business. Let's call it a case study on what happened at Frito-Lay as we've tried to transform our business over the last 5 years. And then I'll make sure I stop and give you a chance to ask some questions. And I'm happy to take on any questions about our business, about PepsiCo, about perspective on careers, or any of those things. Open to anything you'd like to talk about. And so I'll make sure I leave some time at the end. But I think the thing I'm excited about the most is not only am I passionate about this work that I'm doing, but I'm also passionate about the opportunity to speak in front of this young audience, which in my opinion, the most exciting part of my job and the most exciting part of being in business is to be able to nurture the young people in our organization. You are our future. I mean, the young people in our company are the future. And the reason I get so excited about going to college campus is because we never, even in tough times, we don't stop recruiting on campus. We keep bringing the people in because that is our future. So the opportunity to speak to you today with the hopes that maybe one or two of you or more might come to work at PepsiCo is very exciting for me. And then if I could accomplish one thing today, if I could just reach one or two of you with one nugget of career advice or career opportunity, or hopefully I say one thing that might make you think a little differently about your career, then I would consider it a successful day. So let me get started, and I'll tell you about, let me tell you about I won't bore you with my career story, but just to tell you, I started out right here at the University of Maryland. The Procter & Gamble company recruited on campus. I don't know why they wanted me, but they signed me up, and I ended up getting into sales at P&G. Worked there for about 7 years. A friend of mine moved from Procter & Gamble to Frito-Lay and talked me into going. And the reason I went over there is because it's a company. When I came to Frito-Lay, I felt like it was a big company, but it was a small company. It was entrepreneurial. They gave you a lot of rope, and it was very appealing. And here I am 30 years later. So I stayed and moved back and forth from Frito-Lay to Pepsi-Cola to PepsiCo. And then just recently, I was the CEO of Frito-Lay for 5 years. And funny story, and this has a little story about work-life balance. I told my wife 5 years ago, I got promoted to be the CEO of Frito-Lay, kind of a dream job. And she says, well, it sounds really good for you, but we're not moving. And I went, well, the job is in Texas, and we lived in Connecticut. I said, you do have to move. And so what happened is, I like to tell the story that I sacrificed so my kids could stay in their high school. But actually, my wife wasn't coming, so I ended up commuting. For 5 years. And it was really funny because now I have 4 kids. All of them are in college right now. And so about a month ago, or a little more than a month ago, the 2 girls went off to school. So now we're empty nesters. And so I'm down in a hotel room doing my commute. And Vicki calls me up and says, boy, it's spooky in this house. The kids are gone. I'm here. I'm sleeping with my door locked. And I'm going, whoa, this is great. I'm going to probably be doing this job for another 5 years. The next week, this job came open, and I keep telling people the reason they put me in the crown jewels is because I was the cheapest relocation. I was already living in Connecticut, so it cost $0 to get me to move back to the job. So I'm living in Connecticut, and it's nice to be a little bit closer to home than Plano, Texas. So let me tell you a little bit about this journey I've been on, and hopefully you'll find this interesting, and I'll try to move quickly. I'm trying to hit there we go. So our chairman of PepsiCo Worldwide is Indra Nooyi, and she's come up with this vision called Performance with Purpose. And this is quite different for our company. We've always been known as a company that had good performance, but the whole notion of having a purpose is quite different. And even though it's important for the Wall Street community to have performance, if you don't have purpose, it doesn't feel so good, and I don't think you attract young people into your organization. And, I got to tell you, for all the years I've been in business, I feel better about our vision today than I've ever done before because I'd like to do these things. First of all, we're trying to make products that are healthier than they were before. Next, be a good listener to our customers. Next, the planet. I would have never dreamed that one of our top priorities was the planet. I'll show you some things in the next few minutes that are fairly pragmatic, but I would say Frito-Lay's done as much as any company in terms of the environmental sustainability, and I hope you feel that way. And finally, this is the one that I think is the most important plank in the strategy, and it's the way we treat our people. And I call this inspiring greatness in others. And if I were to say you have one thing you have to do out of these four, and I had to pick one, it's that. I think leaders need to inspire greatness in their people, and if you do that, all this other stuff happens, and you'll see I'm most passionate about that, and I'm going to take the most time in today's discussion about that segment and then open it up for some discussion. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the products now, how you took a company that is pretty much junk food and turned it into an organization, or turned it into a product portfolio that was not improved from the status we were in, and people will think differently about our company. I'll go fairly quick through this because this isn't the primary thing that I want to talk about. So here we are with the salty snack business. Most people would call it junk food. And our business started slowing down about a year and a half ago, and we started wondering what was going on. We brought in a consulting firm because I thought it was important to not be looking at this from our own eyes. We needed someone else to come in and give us a more objective perspective on what was happening. Why is our volume slowing down? The initial reaction was that there's a health and wellness concern about our products. There's probably a health and wellness headwind, and that's probably why your business has slowed down. But what we actually found out in the consumer research, and I'm glad that somebody outside the company did this for us because we would not have come to this conclusion. It's very interesting. Your research is biased in your own marketing and insights organization sometimes, especially if you live it every day. And I wouldn't suggest using consulting firms all the time, but it's important to have them come in and give you a fresh perspective. Here's what we found out. 10% of the people are purists. They really are very healthy. They're not going to eat your product no matter what you do to it. They're not going to eat salted snacks. They are purists. They eat apples, carrots. They eat very healthy, and stop wasting your time spending your advertising budget and your innovation budget chasing them. And we were guilty of doing this. For about 3 years, we've been spending 50% of our budget trying to solve the problem of this healthy user, and they're not interested. And I rolled out a couple of brands that were a flop, and a couple of them, a vegetable chip, a fruit chip, a number of other things, and they just didn't do very well. Couldn't figure out why, but they didn't. Then what we found out is 25% of the people are what we call conflicted. And I would put myself in that category. Maybe some of you are. Conflicted means I got up in the morning and I ran 5 miles. I ate a good breakfast. I had a pizza. I then later on the day, had a full Pepsi. And later I, did some push-ups. But I mean, that's the conflicted lifestyle. And then 65% of the people have made the decision in their brain, once they want snacks, they want it to taste good and to be convenient. And they, for at least the time, have set aside health and wellness. Now, here's the important part about this. I've been spending all my money on chasing a consumer it's not likely to get. So we reversed our budgets on innovation and marketing and saw a much different result once we started doing that. So the other thing we found out about this, and Dean and Ann and I were talking about this earlier, people act differently when they're at home and alone. And we found they're much different in the way they do this, the way they eat, when they're away from home and with others. And essentially what happens is when you're out at the barbecue at your friend's house, you're drinking the beer and eating the hot dog. But when you're at home, you might be more disciplined about the way you eat. So now if you take both of those into consideration, most people are still eating our snack category for taste and convenience, yet we weren't marketing it that way. So you have to do both. You have to do both because that 10% and the 25% are going to grow over time, so you better be prepared for it. So let me get the next slide up. Am I supposed to point this? Oh, okay, that's what the problem is. Press right. Well, the next slide would have said, there we go. I think these people have done a really good job at this. So McDonald's has done a terrific job. Look at their business. Who would have ever thought after that movie, Super Size Me, that they would survive? I remember watching that on TV thinking, oh my God, I am glad I'm not in that company. And yet here we are, about 7 years later, Their performance is exceptional. They offer both. If you want a Big Mac, they're selling as many Big Macs as they've ever sold. And they also have offerings on salads, fruit cups, all kinds of other things that you can have a choice. Subway does a great job at it. Subway has 27,000 restaurants now. They sell 6 sandwiches under 6 grams of fat. And they also are able to sell the foot-long meatball sub, whatever you want on it. And they're able to do both. I think the future for us is to do both. So let me show you what we've been doing. Here is a lineup of our products. I'll go briefly through this. 50% of our products have now been converted to all natural. We've taken 25% of the sodium out of Lay's potato chip, our biggest brand. We have taken all natural ingredients into these products and gotten rid of the artificials. No artificial flavors, no seasonings, no MSG, all out of these products. This represents 50% of our line. 80% of our business is now gluten-free. We've changed over the oils and we're using canola oil blends in our cooking. So now we've taken saturated fat levels down about 20% more. And we're working hard against this portfolio. And we've made this significantly healthier than before. But here's the news that we learned from the research. Don't talk about it on the front of the bag. Because the high user of these consumer products sees the words low fat, low sodium, and they associate it with poor taste. And something has changed about my brand, therefore I don't want to eat it anymore. So what you can find is on the back of these bags, you'll find all the information you'd want. And we do marketing through influencers, dietitians, nutritionists, and through print campaigns. But when it comes to our normal campaigns, we're trying to focus primarily on the taste of the product. So let me move on to the next one. And we have, this is one way to advertise it. We have our all-natural ingredients being talked about by our farmers who actually grow the product. And I thought I'd show you one example of this. So this little ad talks about the fact that real farmers grow these potatoes and they really turn into, a snack food product. Believe it or not, some consumers actually told us, I didn't realize that potato chips were made with real potatoes. Like, what the hell do you think they're made with? But, they must have thought it was made with some, processed, highly processed something. But this is a subtle way not to talk about health and wellness, but to kind of introduce natural, grown from a farm, in America, that kind of thing, and it really has helped our business. It's been pretty good. Then we said, okay, now you want to be healthy. Let's line up some new businesses because it's hard to convert some of these products to all health. Stacy's Pita Chips, we bought the company from Massachusetts about 5 years ago. It went from a little tiny $50 million business, it's now $250 million. And Sabra hummus has been an enormous product for us. Started out at about 50 to 60 million, today is 350 million. And we're now launching refrigerated salsas, guacamole, and then these dairy and veggie dips like tzatziki's and Greek dips, which are really doing very well for us. So we even have some products that we're launching this next year that are in the lineup of, we have antioxidants. These are some rice pop chips kinds of products, different popcorns with healthier ingredients and, accomplishing that. Now, I want to talk to you about the other side of it, which is the taste and convenience. So we did all of what I just showed you, and then we said, now let's get back after the base business. So we've launched these products. Now, if you don't call this indulgent, Ruffles Hot Wings. We've got Doritos Taco, and then we have a lineup of products for the West Coast, which is called the Tapatio line of products, which has got the hot sauce from if you've ever lived in California, the West Coast, this is the Tapatio brand. We met with the Tapatio family, and we ended up getting that product. It's flying. Those volumes are all against our plan. It just shows you that if you put, there are some people out there who do want indulgent tasting products. Now, we're changing all the ingredients on this, but we're just not talking about it. So you'll find it on the back of the bag. Here's the lineup of the Tapatio product. I would say that this next product is coming out next year. The Doritos Jacked product is 70% bigger than a normal Dorito and twice as thick, and it's indulgent. And I don't even need to say anything. Now here's a little secret in trying to make these somewhat healthier. You need sodium to make these products taste good. We've used all natural flavorings and ingredients and herbs, so you don't need as much sodium, and the sodium levels are quite a bit lower. But these products are flying. We did a little test with Walmart, and they blew out in about, as fast as you can get them in the stores, so we like those. And then this is one you're going to see next year during the March Madness timeframe. The CEO of Taco Bell used to work at PepsiCo. We used to own that company, and then we spun it off. But he's a good friend, and we talked about the fact that Doritos seems to line up perfectly with the Taco Bell consumer. So we did this test in Toledo, a nacho cheese flavored taco. He's able to get pricing power with this. He's charging 20 cents a taco more. We're selling 350 of these tacos per day per store. And now we're going to launch it in March Madness with a 60 million campaign. And then in the test market, we're backing it up with a Cool Ranch taco. And you can't believe how well. Now, that thing tastes exactly like a Dorito, and that's the campaign. There's a taco coming out of the Dorito bag. So that concludes my presentation on indulgent. And we got plenty of it. And we're trying to work on making these other products healthier. And all these ingredients are going to be less sodium, less bad oils, less. And over time, we'll transform this entire portfolio so that you'll look on the back of this bag and moms will say, these are okay products for my kids. They don't have tons of fat and sodium in them. Now, let me talk to you about the second area, and I think this is one I'm really proud of, and I think you might even be surprised at some of these performances. The planet. How could we become a company that leaves no trace? Now, you would think for a snack food company that has 22,000 trucks and that has 36 plants, what will the plan look like? Now, this is maybe a little hard to read, but about 10 years ago, a group of our engineers started working on environmental sustainability, not to be the good citizen, to save money, because each of these natural resources were starting to cost more and more, especially electricity and fuel for the trucks. But I'll start out with one, water. We were using 7 billion gallons of water to process our products in 2000 or 2001. Today, even though our business has grown about 5% a year for each of those years, we're using 4 billion. So we went from 7 billion gallons to 4 billion gallons. We think we can get that under 2. That's what the goal is. So that was some of the original work. Then the next set of priorities started coming up. The one thing I noticed is I got to Frito-Lay after about 6 months. We had our new strategy. I got up in front of a group like this, a lot of young marketers in our team, and I presented our whole strategy. And at the end of it, I couldn't believe the marketers were coming up talking to me. I thought they were going to ask for more money for their budgets. They were asking, how do I get in on this environmental side of the business? So here's one idea. We took sun chips made in Modesto, California in our plant, and we put 5 acres of solar panels out there. We got some help from the state of California in terms of a grant. And now the solar panels heat the water that comes through the pipe, and we blow the steam into the plant, and we make sun chips off of steam or the power of the sun instead of electricity. And we shut off the electricity from running the sun chips line. So it is sun chips with the power of the sun. It's not a marketing gimmick, it is true. And there I am with Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was, I don't show this slide a whole lot anymore. This used to be one I was proud of, but now he's had a little bit of trouble. So, but he came to the plant for Earth Day, and we opened it on Earth Day, and he was pretty impressed and was a big help in helping us get some of the funding that we needed. Here's the one I'm really proud of. This is, let me back up before I get to that. We're doing a lot of things in our plants right now of recovering heat. So when you fry product, we're getting waste heat recovery and pulling it back into the plant and heating the plants. The other thing is, this is a great one, Kellingly, Connecticut plant. Our electricity bill was off the charts. It kept going up, 15 to 17% a year. We have our own cogen operation in there now where we recapture the heat, run this generator, and we're off the electricity grid 100% in Kellingly, Connecticut. This is the one that I wanted to talk about. And so what I thought was really cool about this is a few marketers and a few engineers who run the operation were sitting in a conference room, and we were brainstorming, could you make a plant? Could you convert a plant to 0 footprint? And we almost did it. And we opened it about a month ago. It's a 25-year-old plant that was retrofitted. The first part in the upper left is called Casa Grande, Arizona. We have a membrane bioreactor, which is a huge water filtration system. So today, we now recycle 90% of the water. And then in the lower left, we have a biomass boiler that is burning wood chips and yard waste from the city of Casa Grande. And we eliminated 80% of the natural gas that we use in the plant. And then we put in solar, and we're entirely off the electricity grid. In fact, our electric trucks in that plant are being recharged off of the solar. So here's a plant that was using tremendous number of raw materials, natural resources, and now we've eliminated all the electricity, almost all the natural gas, and we recycle 90% of the water. And this is, a big deal for us. This is no small plant. We have 600 people work there. They produce about $1 billion worth of finished goods. And I don't know that there's another plant like this. I wished we could have gotten to true net zero. We almost got there, but you do need a little bit of natural gas and you do need a little bit of water to run the facility. So that was one thing. And now plant manager has come in and we've asked them, go look at the Casa Grande plant. Now tell us how you're going to do the same thing in your plant and get as close as you can to it. And oh, by the way, we're not giving you the $50 million worth of capital to do the same thing we did here. Because that's supposed to be the gold standard and the symbolic, best in class. You will not believe how the 36 of these plant managers have come back. Each of them have a book, and they'll take you through it, and they'll say, here's how I'm going to get as close to net zero as possible. 2 of the plants, I can't even believe how much progress they've made with almost no special Capex, and they've been able to save money as well. Right now, I'm really proud that we've got 12 facilities that are LEED Gold certified, including our corporate headquarters in Texas. And we're the only corporate headquarters in the state of Texas that has a gold LEED certification. And then we really start going to town on this one because this is where we're really leaving a footprint, and this is the fleet. So our goal is to take out 50% of the gallons of gas that we use, which is 45 million gallons a year. That's how much we use. Here's our first step. I love this truck on the left. It's a step van that we deliver to stores with. And this truck will get 18 miles per gallon. The trucks we had before were getting 9 miles per gallon. And we're up to almost 3,000 now of these trucks. This is really remarkable. 10 years ago, when I was at Frito-Lay, I was talking to GM about we need better mileage. Nobody seemed to do anything. This became a Mercedes truck. Now all of a sudden everybody's moving fast and furious on fuel-efficient vehicles. You can't believe what we're seeing now in terms of the future on gas-efficient trucks that we couldn't get anybody to move on until the market really started steaming up. And now Ford and GM are playing in this, which is really great. We'd prefer buying an American-made car if we could, or truck. But so we'll have 18 miles per gallon on these. This is one of these big over-the-road. We've figured out with the weight of our product, you don't need a double axle truck like that. We can go to a single axle, and that'll get you 8+ miles per gallon. And that may not sound very good, but you start from a base of 5. And the kind of miles we drive is pretty significant. This is the one I'm really excited about. This is an electric truck. We now have about 200 of them. You can go 100 miles without a recharge. We're getting help from the federal government on this thing and also for the states that we're putting it in. This really could be a breakthrough. I think we could get to 5,000 of our trucks with an electric vehicle, provided we got this subsidy right now because the truck costs twice as much as a normal truck. So a normal truck is $50,000, this costs $100,000. We're getting the subsidies, and I think the technology will be better so that in another 5 years we'll be able to buy these regularly and they'll pay for themselves. But that's an amazing truck, and here's a picture of, I was very proud of the fact we were invited down as one of 4 companies to meet with President Obama to be part of his Green Fleet initiative, and we were recognized in front of a very large group on having the best in class. And we were there with Verizon, PepsiCo, FedEx, and UPS. Now, this was a good day, and here are the young people that work in my organization that have, these 2 young guys over here, I don't know, one's not in his, I don't know if he's 30 and the other one's not 40. They're in charge of this. They've gone off and figured all this out on themselves. I haven't had anything to do with this other than to encourage them and provide them with some resources. But it was a proud day when the President of the United States names us as one of the 4 companies. And you could see that our PR group was in full form. There's President Obama, and the truck is almost on the damn stage with him. And I told the guys, all right, easy does it. I know you want to get the truck in the TV when he's on TV, but one more move and the Secret Service will probably be all over us. But so I got home and I turned on the TV. Here's President Obama, and the Frito truck is right on. I said, nice job. You blocked the Pepsi truck. That was right behind that. So it was fun day in Washington, but we were proud of it. So here's the one I was talking about earlier. We have a Sabritas business in Mexico, which is the Frito-Lay business down there. Drive less miles in more inner city locations like Mexico City, 30 miles per gallon on this truck. So it's a smaller truck, but just think, we were doing 9 miles per gallon 3 years ago. Now we're talking about 18 as a normal, and now we're getting up to 30. So I was really excited about this lightweight truck, and I was ready to buy 10,000 of them, and the team said to me, easy does it. These are coming, and you don't want to get all of your trucks at 18 when you could potentially be at 30. This is a really big one in terms of payoff. There's a lot of aerodynamic work going on the tractor trailer, and with some small moves on the aerodynamics of this tractor trailer, you might actually get up to a 10 to 12 miles per gallon on a 42-foot big over-the-road fleet truck that you see out there on the highway. And we're looking at compressed natural gas in Texas and California. We have to have more places to refuel, and this has got to become more of a mainstream thing. But it appears to be a big idea for Pepsi. Now that I've moved over to Pepsi, the fleet carries heavier product. I don't know that we're going to be able to use these lightweight trucks, so I'm hopeful for this one. So that concludes the piece on environmental, and I hope you think it's a good piece of work. I'm really proud of the team. They've done a lot in a short period of time. Last piece, people. And this is the I just wanted to take a minute on this slide because this is how I believe a more effective way to manage. So most companies have the CEO of a company all the way up at the top, and then they kind of cascade the vision down to their people, and the most important person in a company is the CEO, and the least important person is the person lowest in the company. This is the preferred, this one here is the preferred look, and that is where the most important person in our company is the person closest to the customer. And so that might be a little different than what you think of in the past. The most important person is right there on the front line working with the customer. And the least important person in the company is the CEO of the organization or the senior management team. So you may say, what the hell do you do if you're the CEO of the company and the least important person? It's to remove obstacles. Assuming that you wind up having the right strategy and your people are on track, then the most important thing, the most effective thing you can do as a CEO is to get the obstacles out of the way for your folks. Now, this is counterintuitive to many people who study management and for people that are out there working in the field. But I've seen both. And I've been at this 30 years now, so I feel like I got at least a good test market under my belt. And I would say that the leaders I've seen that have used the command and control environment like this, I've seen some of them successful, but not sustainable. The ones on the right, when you get it right, it's sustainable, and you get people to own their performance instead of, I own my boss's goals. This is really an important thing. And I believe that this is a way to transform an organization. It's the way to motivate people and get them to own their results. And every time I've seen this, the performance is better in an organization that lives this way. Now, somebody may say, that seems like a soft way to manage. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing. No, absolutely not. Your responsibility as a leader is to figure out what the objectives are and set the strategy. And then if your people go off track, you're in charge of pulling them back on track. I'm not suggesting everyone's running loose in the streets at Pepsi. But I will tell you that the goal is you empower the people closest to the action. Then you set the strategy, you monitor the performance. Somebody's off performance, you pull them back in. and then you get out of their way and go do their jobs. This works better. I've seen it every single time. And then you reward great performance. So a recognition culture will do more for your organization than anything else. The frontline heroes, you should celebrate them all the time. You should constantly put their pictures up in front of the organization, hang their pictures up in the distribution center as the heroes of the week or the month. Across our website, I do something about every 3 or 4 weeks where I send out, here's another success story, and a picture of somebody that's on the front line. I don't send out any pictures of senior vice presidents or directors or vice presidents. It's all about the people on the front line who are doing the work and celebrating their results. And what you see is they get their picture in. Now everybody else starts trying to emulate this performance, and it's something that really works quite well. I go around in the field looking for people that are doing good things, and I give out these little awards. And I stop everybody in the distribution center. I said, hey, everybody, let's get around here. Here's Mary, who's done an extraordinary job at growing sales. Here's a breakthrough she made with her customers. I want everybody to get around here. We end up getting a picture with her. We put the picture on the wall in headquarters, and then we give her one picture and we put it on our Pepline website so every one of the 300,000 people can see it. And I think it works. I've seen people in our headquarters at Frito-Lay on a Saturday afternoon in the wall of pictures, and here's a gentleman with his wife and his 2 kids and pointing out the picture of Dad up on the wall. You don't think that goes a long way? The loyalty that we have from that person is exceptional, and it's a good practice. And then others want to get their picture up on the wall. Here's some of my heroes. They taught me some of the things I'm talking about. Roger Enrico was the chairman of Pepsi, and then he became PepsiCo, and he's retired now. I learned a big lesson from him is don't get caught up in the tyranny of the incrementalism of the business. Don't get tied up by your inbox, by your emails, by your BlackBerry, by all the little maneuvers in the meetings you go to. Think about changing the big things in your organization. No great results occur without dramatic actions. And that's a lesson I learned from him, and he sure did it while I worked for him. Then you have Craig Weatherup. He's the guy that I learned about this right side up triangle with the servant leadership. This is a remarkable man who really gave his people a lot of rope, and they always ended up doing a great job. The other thing I learned from him, and we can talk about it later maybe in the question and answer, but he had an extraordinary career with our company, and he had a wonderful family life. And I used to watch him, and I used to think, how the hell does he do this? I mean, some of these other people are just working like dogs constantly, no real family life. And he'd show up at one of these big off-site meetings, and here's his wife, Connie. And I go, Connie, what are you doing here? And he'd say, well, we're going to stay over for 2 days, and we're going to make a vacation out of it. And then he would tell me he doesn't work on the weekends. When I'm in town, I'll be home by 7 o'clock to have dinner with my family. He had these little rules. And I bring him to a lot of my leadership programs today and have my people listen to him. And I ask him, besides all the great stuff you did in the business, I'd like you to take my team through how you can be a successful executive and still have a great family and family life and a balanced life. And he is the best. And I've taken a lot of examples from him and tried to work with him. Here's another guy who's the chairman of Yum today, who just wrote this book. He's one of my largest customers now that I'm in Pepsi, so I bought a whole bunch of his books and gave it to my people, hopefully impressing him, and he'll buy more Pepsi. But the best frontline leader I ever saw. The ability to motivate a frontline team, and this whole notion of motivating the frontline and giving them accountability, and then recognizing them for the great results. So these are some of the people that have given me a chance to be successful. And then a couple of books that I have used with our organization. Stephen Covey has this book called The Speed of Trust. I introduced it into Frito-Lay about 5 years ago. And the notion, this book, kind of sells you on the fact that if there's trust in your organization, there's a certain speed that happens in your organization from trust. Less bureaucracy, less people looking over each other's shoulders, less politics. There's also an economics to trust. And he does a wonderful job of pointing this out. I've taken my whole organization through it. And I would say today, that might be the thing I'm most proud of in our team. When I left the job at Frito-Lay about 2 months ago, those guys are running the business, and it's going great. In fact, I'm a little concerned it's going so much better since I left than before, but the reason is that team trusts each other and they work well together, and that's what I hope to do in another job, in this job. The other one I really like is this book called The Adversity Advantage, written by Eric Weinmayer. And Eric climbed Mount Everest, and he's totally blind. He also climbed the seven peaks around the world, the highest peaks in the world, and he's totally blind. The videos he brought with him, he spoke at our group about the training that's required as a blind person to cross over these crevasses with these metal ladders, and he's not looking down, but this 2,000 feet below, and the team struggling to make the summit, and some of his people had to drop out, and you listen to this story, and at the end he says he gets to the top of the mountain, and he's faced all this adversity, and they kept pushing through it, and they used it as an advantage. And he said when he gets to the top of that mountain, he can't see, but he can smell what it looks like. And he's a remarkable guy. When you listen to his story, you say, nothing I'm working on today is even close to the adversity this guy has had to work with. And it gives you a lot of courage. I've had him present to every group in my organization, and he's become a friend. He's a very interesting person. He's a crazy, aggressive skier, which, I don't understand how he does it. I can't even ski down these mountains, and I can see perfectly. And he's just a remarkable guy. I loved his view, though, is that when you're in adverse times, you step up and take advantage of the adversity, because you're more likely to look deeper, research the situation more aggressively, find new ideas that you wouldn't have looked for before, and that is the time to lean in and take risks. And it's also the time to play offense. When you're in difficult times, you don't play defense, you play offense. Everyone else is playing defense. This guy does a great job of it. So I wanted to end in this last little piece. And this whole work by The Speed of Trust and also Eric's book on Adversity Advantage, it leads to one common thread, and that is the best leaders are optimistic leaders. They see the hope of the future. They inspire their people to live up to those potential situations. And what I notice is when you lead optimistically. Now, here we are in this difficult economic environment. You have a choice. You can either watch CNN and you can get totally depressed, or you put on MSNBC and the first 5 stories have got you, ready to, this is horrible. And before you get out of your house, you've defaulted to the negative energy that's all around you. The other side of it is I could see these situations and I can imagine what the possibilities are given the circumstances. And you lead optimistically. If you lead optimistically, your people will see the optimism and the hope. If you lead pessimistically, the economy is horrible. I don't know how we're going to be able to do it. These raw material increases and inflation are going to kill us next year. Then it'll be that way. You can be assured of that. But when you lead optimistically, your people start leaning in, and then they start showing you their best self. They play optimistically and aggressively, and they're leaning in. If they show you your best self, they always get best results. They always improve their results because they're confident. You build your confidence, and I think the biggest job you have as a leader in an organization is build the confidence of your people. And I think back to whether you think about academics or you think about sports. The times I've seen young kids who are struggling with a subject in school, and all of a sudden they get a remarkable coach or they get a remarkable tutor, all of a sudden they believe they can do it because the tutor shows them the way. The confidence goes way up, and their expectations in themselves go way up. The same thing with a coach. If you're a coach in sports and you have some kid that really can't hit the baseball, and you show them how to step into the baseball, and you give them lessons, and you get them to the batting cage, and all of a sudden they start connecting. Now they start hitting. They go to the next game, and all of a sudden they get a hit every time they're up. What happened? They're the same people, but now all of a sudden they believe in themselves more. Their confidence is up. I'll tell you one quick story about, I was a fairly young person in the organization. This Roger Enrico was our chairman. I was in a room with people that were mostly older and more senior. And we were talking about a tough situation. He said, "Al, what do you think about this?" And here I am, the lowest level guy in the room. He goes, Al, what do you think about this? And I told him, and he goes, that is exactly what we need to do. Now, in that minute, I was like the kid with the tutor or the baseball coach. All of a sudden, something clicked on in my brain that made me believe in myself. Somebody believed in what my best ideas were and that they were actually valid ideas to help the company. And instead of sitting back in my chair, I was leaning on my elbows on the chair, and now I was willing to step up and talk and bring my ideas to the party. That changed my entire expectation for myself for my whole career. And now what I try to do is I look around for those young people in our meetings who are kind of tentative, but I know they're good, and I try to get them, those magic words, what do you think about this? And then all of a sudden I see a new star born, and it is as simple as that. And it doesn't make any difference if you're at the lowest level of management, you're all the way at the top of the level. This is a truth, and it is the best way to manage. And then the thing I call it the multiplier effect, once you see the confidence grow, those confident people start influencing other confident people, and you got a really good organization. I think that's the most important thing I've learned in the whole time I've been working in the business field. And let me turn that off for a second. Thank you. Let me finish the thought. I think the most important thing you could do is build the confidence of your people, to serve your people. And when I started out of school, I wanted to get promoted really fast, and I wanted to move and all this kind of stuff. As I aged and I got a chance to listen more and see more of the business world, I realized serving my people, building their confidence probably got me more. I helped them more, but it helped me become more successful because their performance picked up. It's an important, if there's any one thing I'd like you to catch from any of the stuff I went through, that's it. And I think it'll serve you well. My hope for you is that when you graduate from this great university, and let me tell you something, this is an awesome place. When I went to school here, you could get a good education at the University of Maryland if you wanted to. You could goof around if you wanted to and hang out at the VU. Some of you guys don't know what the VU is. It's Bentley's today. Today, you got to work, as you know. But this is a great school. It's at the very top of the list in public universities, and especially the Smith School. And you have a great gift. You're leaving with a great university degree when you get out of here. And your chances of being successful are very good. Now put a couple of these lessons in there with the lessons you're learning here at Maryland, and I think you're going to wind up having a successful career. That's my wish for you. Now, let me end, and then we can take some questions. But I wanted to show you, you may wonder, this guy's running Pepsi. I haven't heard one damn thing about Pepsi. Pepsi is $20 billion, $21 billion in sales. It's a third of the company's sales and about the same in profits. And we've had a little bit of a slow run here, so I'm taking a drink from the fire hose right now. I'm working on it, but I am absolutely convinced that's what's needed in this organization is what I've just been talking about. And my intention is that sometime in the next 6 months we see a dramatic turnaround in our business, and it's going to happen from turning on our people and investing in our brands. And I don't know that we've been doing that. So that's what my role is right now. But one thing that has happened is, could we turn this back to the beginning? Yeah. I'm just going to show you this new commercial we've got on X Factor. Pepsi Cola has abandoned the brand after the last 5 years. I don't think we've done a very good job at it. Any brand that doesn't get nurturing over the course of 5 years will not grow. We had a potato chip business that grew 10% when we put effort against it. I think we can do the same thing with Pepsi. We are working on a breakthrough sweetener, all natural, but in the interim, you have got to step up and support this brand. It's a big brand with lots of excitement in it. When we were successful, we were all about sports, music, youth, and excitement. We're bringing it back, and we have a great campaign that's going to hit in the spring, but I want to show you this new X Factor campaign because it's a little more of the feel, the optimistic feel of what Pepsi's about. So those of you who watch the X Factor know that it's a big competition to see who's going to be the winner. At the end of the X Factor, Simon Cowell and his group of judges will pick one person who's the winner, and the winner is going to wind up doing a Pepsi commercial, and it's going to be shown on the Superbowl. So it's going to be a big deal. But that spirit of fun and entertainment and optimism is something that needs to flow through in our business as well, and that's going to happen in Pepsi next year. And I have high hopes our R&D team have done remarkable things where I've tasted a product that is a 0-calorie, tastes exactly like a Pepsi, and it's got an all-natural botanical sweetener in it, and it's just a matter of working on it and getting it into the marketplace sometime in the next, let's just say it, in case somebody from Coke is in the audience, I'll just say in the future. So keep them guessing. But that's the end. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I know a lot of people have thanked me for coming. I'm thanking you for the opportunity to be here. This is my school. I went here, and it feels good to be here again. And if there's anything I could do to help any of you guys in your pursuit of a career, I'd be happy to do it. You want to open it up for questions? Do we have time? Yes. Good. Thank you. Fire away.
Hi. I was just wondering, because at least for me growing up, part of the Pepsi brand was the image of the Cola Wars, Coke versus Pepsi, and part of the Pepsi brand was versus Coke.
Yep.
So I was wondering what lessons you learned from being in a company that had such a fierce competition with a rival and obviously thrived because of that.
And so it is about I don't know if a competitive issue is more intense, Pepsi versus Coke, over the years. But one thing my boss always says is, we are a different company than just Coke. Coke sells beverages only. We have, only 25% of our business is beverages and the rest is food. But all that being said, every day we wake up trying to beat those red guys. And one of the things I've learned, and one of those mentors up there when I got into this job gave me some good advice, and this is what we're going to do. They're bigger than we are, so don't try to duplicate everything they do. Try to figure out what will be the most disruptive things you could do to them. Make them happen, and if you fail, fail fast. That was the best advice I've got. So if you fail, fine, pick up and move on to the next thing. But they hate being disrupted. They like running their play. And they're big, and they got a lot of money. We're not going to have as much money as they will, but if we're disruptive and we keep firing at them, it's probably the best way to compete. And it's a little more fun. Frito, we had a 70 share. I mean, yeah, this is a little different. We're a little behind on this one. Yep.
Hi. You've mentioned a few times that you graduated from Maryland, and I was wondering, how did your experiences here affect your career and everything you've done?
Well, I don't want to reveal everything about my past, but now I'm old enough where it shouldn't hurt me. But, I had, so this campus prepared me as a leader. So I had the opportunity to get a good education. And this early part of my career, I'll be the first one to tell you, I was on the track team here, and I spent more time running than I did studying. And then as the time went on, I realized that's not a good plan. And I started working harder, and I tried to juggle being the captain of my team, and also I was the head of my fraternity. And at one point, I remember thinking, wow, I got a lot going on here. I'm starting to get behind, and it forced me to work with, balancing lots of objectives and trying to, stay up. And it was good training. And when I got out of school, what they threw at me wasn't that hard. I mean, I felt like I could handle it. So if you have the opportunity, I don't care if it's a fraternity, if it's a club within the business school, student government, anything, get yourself involved with multitasking, and I think it'll pay off. Now, I'll also say some people have to work to get their way through school. People who have a job. I've seen some people have 2 jobs and try to go to school at the same time. That's the same thing that I'm talking about. But if you get that opportunity, I would try it. That helped me. Yeah. Yeah, we've looked at that. I mean, if we're spending $50 million on this water recycling system, we've looked at it 20 years out. What's the Capex return on it? First of all, I really believe in our generation's done a horrible job at the environment, not leaving a good situation for our grandchildren. So we have an obligation to do some of that. Every one of these ideas has been tested from a productivity standpoint, not just for we're good people, we want to do good for the environment. and have held ourselves to a rigorous standard. The only place that we cut corners or put a little bit of a change is our Capex returns can be lower for our environmental sustainability projects than on our normal projects. But you make a good point. Some things with technology, rapidly advance so fast that you're obsolete in a couple of years. In these three areas, we're not, and particularly in the water. If we don't get some water conservation going pretty soon, I could see parts of the Southwest being on allocations of water. And if you're trying to sell soft drinks and you have an allocation of water, that's a problem. So we've got to figure out how to make them work. But no, our board holds us to a tight standard on these economic returns. Yeah.
My name's Anthony Maniello. I'm the candidate as well. So I'm wondering how you're going to use the ideals, leverage the ideals of trust and the upside-down pyramid to close the disconnect between the frontline sales team that's going forward and the corporate middle management, kind of lots of bolts in that translation.
So if I understand, just how do you get the middle management to do what I'm talking about?
Corporate middle management to really communicate
Yeah.
better with the frontline sales team, where you're losing a lot of great
Yep.
ideas and a lot of good efficiencies.
What I found with the middle managed team, they want to do this. They're looking for the senior management to give them the okay to do it. And then I have found this to be really easy to get the middle team to go do it because they believe, they're closest to the action, and they realize if you give some empowerment out, it comes back in return. So it hasn't been difficult. It's been more difficult to convince those senior leaders who have done it a certain way forever, this command and control environment, getting them to change is a whole nother ballgame. And you can get some of these folks that came up through the functional silos. I'm in manufacturing. I don't work with the marketing guys. Let's keep out of my territory. That's the kind of stuff I deal with on people my age, and the people who have been successful. I call them functional captains. They're experts at their function, but they're really not very good at working side to side. So that's my biggest challenge, not the middle group.
Hi, the Doritos Superbowl campaign has caused a lot of buzz in the past couple of years. Can you kind of talk about the mindset behind it and what results have yielded from it?
Yeah, so it's worked really well. This is the Doritos Crash the Super Bowl campaign. So when I got to Frito about 5 years ago, the business in Doritos wasn't very good at all. A young group of people in marketing came in and showed me this idea where we're going to let consumers vote on the ads that go on the Super Bowl. I'm going, what are you talking about? How do we have any control over this thing? And what do you, I can't even imagine this. Well, they ended up selling me on this idea that, that we could get consumers to actually do their own ads on Doritos, show them on the Super Bowl, the biggest stage, and it'll actually get more buzz. And we'll get more excitement, and the ads will be liked by the consumer more. And I'll tell you what, I ended up saying yes to it because of two things. Number one, the business was horrible. We couldn't do much worse. And second was there was so much passion that I've learned over the years that when you see someone with that much passion about something, I try to go with it unless it's some really crazy idea. And I gave them a shot. Our business went way up as a result of it. And we got our entire field organization to get so excited about it that their actual execution in the field was better. This is the 5th year coming up that we're going to do it. This year, they're all submitting, and we have some Hollywood producers turning in an ad also. And then what we're going to do is have 2 ads on the Super Bowl face to face, the producer against the consumer. And if the consumer wins, they get $1 million. And if the producer wins, then we wind up giving him $1 million for his foundation. But it's voted on by the consumer. So it's worked pretty good. I have to admit, I'm just like, your question is valid because every year I said, we're not doing this again, are we? And the answer is yes. And now next year, I'm not at Frito anymore. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go away. But so far, it's been pretty successful for our business. Our ad agencies do not like it. Because they produced the ad. The ad last year that won, and it came in number 1 on the ad meter for Super Bowl, cost $12 to produce. It was way the hell more than $12 to have our agency produce that ad. Yeah.
So, as you might know, our D1 track team is actually on some budget cuts. So would you be interested in sponsoring this?
Are you on the track team?
No.
this is killing me. I just found out about it last night, and I called the coach, and we talked about it today, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help and try to call up some alums. And here's my point. I mean, the track team, come on, how much could they possibly spend in a year? Let's, we have a shirt and a t-shirt, shorts and a pair of shoes. I mean, this isn't like the football team. We have a coach here that is one of the best coaches in the world, who is going to be the men's Olympic coach for 2012. And, you know, shame on us if we don't figure out how to work this out, but I'm going to try to work constructively with him and some other alumni to see if there's a shot at keeping it. If it wasn't for that track team, I don't know if I would have gone to college. I got a scholarship to come here. Otherwise, I don't know, you know, my dad didn't have any money. I'm not sure what I would have done. And I owe him. I think it did so much to change my confidence. And there's a lot of thousands of other young people that are not superstars. I wasn't a superstar, but it gave me a chance to, you know, to make something of myself. And I think we ought to try to keep as many of those minor sports around as possible. They're the true athletes, right? This football, basketball, I love going to Maryland basketball games, but let's face it, this is like the NBA. I mean, it's like the pro football. I think the pure sports, we ought to try to figure out how to support them. I better shut up or I might get in trouble with, but I know that's how I feel, and my old teammates. Anybody? Yeah.
Earlier this year, there was sort of ads that came out for Pepsi that I found rather interesting. They featured Santa Claus and Polar Bears, which are Coke's icons. I was wondering if you could possibly talk about that and like what was the purpose behind those?
Yeah, I was wondering what the purpose was myself. So here's these these Pepsi ads on TV this summer. This is an example. Okay, you know, if there are Pepsi people in the room, don't be telling the old marketing team about this, but it was horrible. The ad, first of all, it doesn't tie to any aspiration we're trying to build for the brand. It was just a non sequitur ad. Here's an ad during the summer, and it's putting Coke in front of the consumer. Why would you do that? Why would we put Coke in front of the consumer in our ad? I saw Coke as much as I saw Pepsi in these ads. I don't think it was a good ad, and we won't be seeing it anymore. That's one thing you get to do as the boss, is make a few calls.
Mark Hamlin was saying. I was kind of wondering. Oh, sure. I was kind of wondering. We were talking earlier today, actually, about Pepsi in our brand management class, and we were talking about the Pepsi Refresh project, and sort of along the same lines of the question that was previously asked about how you envision the brand in the future, because it seems like the message has been sort of diluted in the past, and you mentioned going towards sort of classically American themes like music and sports. I was just wondering if you could comment a little more about that.
I was wishing you wouldn't ask me that question, but this Pepsi Refresh campaign, the idea for those who aren't aware, so mail in, you know, your idea for social causes, and we'll fund them if you qualify. And you know, we had this board of people that looked at it, and then we'd give out gifts to people for doing various great things in the community. Now, if that was our campaign from the foundation, you know, our charitable foundation, I think it would have been terrific. This was our Pepsi campaign, and you know, who are we giving the money to? Most of the people we gave the money to were people that do not drink Pepsi. They're not even in the category, and it was, you know, I think it was money not well spent. It didn't have an aspirational vision. It didn't get to the consumer that we're targeting, and it was money that was not effectively spent, I think. We have a lot of work to do on this whole advertising campaign, but what I've seen for next year, I'm very excited about. It's more in line with what now our international guys have done a great job, and they've kept with the similar kind of sports, music, young people, in life in the now, that kind of stuff, and it's been successful. So we have work to do. That was not a good, successful campaign from a brand standpoint. From a social standpoint, it was very successful. And I wished our foundation would have done that thing instead. It's easy picking on, you know, the other guys. Wait till a year from now, someone will be talking about some ads we run, and they'll be kicking my butt about how it didn't add up or so. Any other questions? Oh, okay.
So obviously, environment is a very big pillar that you're trying to work on currently, and I was just wondering, kind of some of the struggles that you go through within the corporation, as far as obviously there's cost factors, and I'm sure that you do get resistance within it. But I was kind of hoping you can elaborate as far as how you're trying to integrate, your vision or Indra's vision into the entire company, and how you're trying to battle some of those smaller battles that happen internally.
It's a great point. So the good news is Indra's got a vision that includes the environmental sustainability, and we've made some compromises on our returns for good investments in environmental, but that helps. But you still have to get these Capexes through. And if you can't prove that they're going to return down the road, it's difficult. I really am impressed with a couple of these passionate engineers that we have working in our organization who have come up with such great ideas, and when they don't add up, they keep going back to the boards and figuring out how they will make it add up. Whether it be go to the state of Arizona and ask them for the right money to help us fund the program. The other idea they came up with, it wasn't adding up on these solar panels. Now we're selling back energy to the city, which is helping us make the returns come out. It's tricky. And I told the story in the little group we met in earlier about the compostable bag, the famous Sun Chips compostable bag. It already gets chuckles. I haven't even finished the story and you guys are ready to... But you know what happened with this compostable bag? I thought it was a big idea. We spent a lot of money on putting this thing together. One day I said I got 700 emails from consumers directly to me that said, I'm trying to put my child to sleep and this bag is waking my kid up. I feel like saying, what the hell are you doing with this bag of Sun Chips while you're trying to put the baby to sleep? I don't understand that. But I got a bunch of those. And then I got a bunch of them that said that, it was noisy, it looked bad on the shelf. And here I thought all the people that were very green oriented were saying, hallelujah, go for it. Movie stars, actors, green community, National Geographic, Al Gore. And this thing was a bust. And it came to a head. They must have had a slow news day, but Matt Lauer is on TV. They have a guy who's flying like an F-16, and they're measuring the decibels of noise versus the Sun Chip bag. And we lost. Then they take the bag down to the subway in New York City. It's noisier than the subway. Finally, Matt Lauer, he pulls the bag out. He goes, oh, but these are really healthy. Did you know it has, by that time, the damage had been done. But we said we're going to take it off the market. I got emails from people like Pearl Jam. They're in their bus. They're going, please, Mr. Doritos, Mr. Sun Chips, do not take the compostable bag out. So it was the loser. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It tells me something about, are people willing to step up with their wallets yet for green? Don't know. Not on this anyway. The good news, though, the success in this story was all the research that was done on this compostable bag gave us the groundwork to make 100% recyclable packaging for Frito in sometime in the next 2 years. So we'll end up getting our last laugh at this eventually. But, so when something like that happens, now the next idea that comes up, well, I remember the compostable bag story. We get some of that. So it's tricky. It's threading the needle a little bit. Yeah, in the back. No, I didn't.
The screen. And also, have your kids ever tried Coke?
That wasn't a ploy. I just ran the tape too far. But my kids better not try any Coke. There's a couple of markets where we deliver Dr. Pepper. I said, if you're in those markets, you can drink a Dr. Pepper, no Coke. Indra has this funny story. She had her little daughter at the time was crying, and the nurse said to come up. So Indra, our chairman, comes up and says, "What's the matter, honey?" "Well, the teacher she's drinking a Coke, and she's going to die." And Indra goes, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Mommy, you said that Coke is poison, and Mrs. Smith is going to die. She's drinking poison." And I said, "Whoa." So that's how we live. That's kind of our culture a little bit. I haven't gone that far, though. You remember it. That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.